Good morning. Oh, that's loud. I'd like to welcome everybody to this morning's September 5th meeting of the Mojave County Public Lands and Recreation Commission. Madam Clerk, could we get, Commissioner Martin, would you start us with the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, Madam Clerk, could I get a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Chairman Lingenfelter?
Here.
Commissioner Barlow?
Here.
Commissioner Spent?
Here.
Commissioner Diaz?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
And Director Letowski?
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4, our first order of business is discussion regarding Bureau of Land Management Biden-Harris Clean Energy Projects. And I believe Director Letowski from Director Haltry from Development Services Department, do you have something to share with that?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I researched this item. What it appears to be, it looks like the BLM is approving several projects throughout the western United States. This particular press release deals with, I believe it is 9 projects in the western United States. 7 of the projects are called the Esmeralda 7 solar projects. It contains of about 118,000 acres of solar project, which would be about 5.35 gigawatts of energy produced. This is near the Tonopah, Nevada area. So it's just between Las Vegas and Reno, if you're looking at a map. The other 2 projects, one is Libra Solar Project. It's about 5,100 acres. This is in the Mineral and Lyon counties in Nevada. Again, those are closer to the Reno area. And that's looking to produce about 700 megawatts of battery energy storage system. The last one is the Elizabeth Solar. It's about 1,400 acres, and it's about 65 miles east of Yuma City. So that one is in Arizona, a little bit closer to our area. I believe all 9 of the projects are a little outside of our jurisdiction as far as in Nevada and kind of a little bit further south east of Arizona. What it does show is that the BLM is permitting these projects, and I believe we still have under review quite a few solar projects just here in Mojave County under the BLM. But they are permitting these. It seems like they're moving forward with a lot of these projects. I'm not familiar with what the status is on the projects within Mojave County, but just seeing this press release, it does show that they are moving forward with them. So with that, I'll open it for the Commission's discretion and discussion.
Thank you, Director Haltry. Questions from our commissioners? Commissioner Martin?
I've got a thing here from the Bureau of Land Management about the Western Solar Plan. And in that plan, they're touting that they've already exceeded what their goal was in the western United States to do solar projects, and that they were continuing to do the permitting process, and that they had originally did these projects in 5 western states, and now they're going to include more states, including Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. So the BLM is on a march to convert the West with solar projects, and I think it does behoove us as the county to keep our foot on the gas to try to keep them from taking over so much land in Mojave County. it's pretty obvious what their plan is. And, you know, if we don't stay on top of this, we're going to see the whole western United States become one big solar panel. And I don't think that the people want to see that, especially the people in Mojave County don't want to see public lands converted into these solar projects. So I think it behooves the county to stay on top of this and let them know that the people in Mojave County for sure are not in favor of these expanded solar projects.
Thank you. And I would add to that. I don't know if it's more the BLM, but I think they're getting their marching orders from the Biden administration, and they are really the ones that have their foot on the gas on this stuff. And a lot of people, even locally, if you talk to the folks that we know in the BLM, you know, they're maybe necessarily not personally for this stuff, but they've got their marching orders. And
yeah.
so I
Sure.
absolutely
Yeah,
agree with you.
I agree. I've talked to some of the local people, and they're just doing what they're told that they have to do. It's not something that they're passionate about, and they do understand the feelings of people in Mojave County. I'm pretty sure of that. So, like I say, it's coming from the top, and even though there's not a lot that we can do, whatever we can do, we sure need to keep doing.
Commissioner Barlow, any comments?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have been watching this lawsuit that Utah is pushing against the BLM. They're trying to get back the land that is unappropriated or is not designated for a specific purpose from Congress. And after reading this article, then I'm wondering if part of that lawsuit is to try to reclaim land so they can have have say in what happens to that public land. And so I think we ought to watch it, because if they win this lawsuit, then it'll make it so that we can go to the state and use the precedents, I feel like, and it'll be harder for them to put these solar farms and stuff in. So we ought to watch that.
I think the lawsuit you're talking about is in partnership with an organization called the American Public Lands Council or something like that. I've seen the copy of the complaint, and to bring everybody else up to speed, I'll make sure that I get a copy of that complaint to the clerk, and she can send it to all the commissioners so that you're aware of it. Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
What I want to know is how they can justify this and have a law, the federal lands policy that was passed in 1976 by Congress, which prohibits single use on public lands. And everything in that policy, I tried to make a copy of it. It's like 15 pages long, but this law protects our public lands from single use. And where they're coming in now, and I just saw an article yesterday where across the West, BLM wants to do 30 million acres of solar and wind across the western United States. So somehow if we can get some action to where they're in violation of the FLPMA Act of 1976.
Thank you for those comments. Commissioner Diaz, if you're on the line, do you have any comments?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just kind of want to piggyback on what you said, Chairman Lingenfelter, regarding it's really not the BLM. They're just doing their marching orders from this current administration. So we need to really stay focused on what's going on. It is a land grab. There is that single-use law that the gentleman just spoke about, and elections have consequences, and Obama said that. So we have to really be smart coming November 5th and who we vote for. Not to get too political here, but I've had some conversations on another subject regarding to sheriff's departments and law enforcement and border patrol and individuals. Same thing. They're getting their marching orders from the administration. They're protecting their their pensions. And as soon as the right change happens in the administration, things will change on a dime. So we just have to stay vigilant. And I do have a question, Mr. Lingenfelter. Is there any kind of, when they do these, we're going to take over this amount of acres to do these projects, do they have to have meetings where there's public comment and public input, or they just say we're doing it and we don't care what you say? I don't know that. I'm asking that question.
To my knowledge, and I'll defer to Director Haltry if I get this wrong, but I think that if there's a project that the BLM or the National Park Service or another federal agency is proposing within a county, then they would, I mean, we are listed and recognized as a cooperating agency, the county of Mojave is, and we would get the opportunity to provide public comments, but they also do have, because I think it's the Administrative Procedures Act, they have to give public notice. They have to provide the public with opportunities to provide their public comment. Did I miss anything?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. On several of the projects within Mojave County, they go through what's called the variance process. That's the first step in applying for some of these projects, and it did include notifying the county. We did have the opportunity to provide comment and provided comments to them, as well as I think they did have some public meetings involved with that particular projects through that variance process. And I believe there are more public meetings as they continue through that.
An additional requirement that I didn't mention was, I think for most of these projects, the federal government is also required to either conduct an environmental assessment or a full-blown environmental impact statement process. And those are very thorough, and those do provide ample opportunities for public comment as well. Any other comments before we move on? I don't think there was any action needed or anything that we're going to be sending on to the Board of Supervisors on that item. So we'll go to item number 5, discussion regarding the Bureau of Land Management and National Park Service are seeking public comments on a joint environmental assessment for proposed wild burro gathers within and outside the Tassie Gold Butte Herd Management Area on the jointly managed Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument. Director Haltry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Just to give you a little bit of summary on this item. And actually, if I could, I'm going to try to share my screen so I can just see where we're talking about. So we're looking within Mojave County is just above the Meadview area. It's part of the national park and BLM land that is right in this area. Hopefully you guys can all see that. But it is considered the Tassie Gold Butte Herd Management Area. BLM and the national park are partnering on creating an environmental assessment. Wild burros in that area are not native, and the population has continued to grow unchecked. Within the environmental assessment, they have 5 different options that they're considering to kind of mitigate the population growth of the wild burros. One is raising the AML, which would mean that it would allow more burros to live in the area, but not necessarily change the ecological damage that they're causing. The second option is the fertility control vaccines, essentially using vaccines to prevent burros from reproducing. Third option is reducing livestock grazing. So this would mean eliminating grazing by cattle and other livestock, but this would not be in line with the current management plans that could cause harm to the livestock industry. Fourth option is bait and trap only. This would involve trapping burros using bait. And the last option is the natural means. Assumes the wild burros would be controlled naturally, but there's no evidence that this would happen. The proposed action, the EA recommends that the proposed action of removing wild burros from the Tassie Gold Butte area is the option that they're proposing. They would be using helicopters and traps to capture and remove the animals. That's what is being proposed. I looked at it as far as Mojave County is concerned and what maybe our take would be. I think for Mojave County purposes, reducing the competition for livestock grazing is a good thing. So by removing the burrows, we'd be able to provide more food and resources for the cattle and grazing in that area. It would improve rangeland health, so the native vegetation would be able to continue to grow. And then it would reduce the conflicts by removing the burrows. It would reduce the risk of conflicts between burrows and livestock, and burrows and humans in that area as well. That being said, I believe the environmental assessment is seeking public comment on this. The deadline is actually September 9th. We would still have time to be able to submit anything if we would like. I don't believe, as far as the county's or staff's concerned, I don't see any major concerns on our part that we would need to address. But if there is something that the commission sees that we maybe need to comment or address, we can definitely do that. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioner Martin?
Well, when it comes to burros, they're feral exotics. And, you know, I don't think anybody would advocate complete extirpation. Now, let me go back. There are people that would advocate that. But my personal feelings is no, don't do that. But to control them just like they control every other mammal that is on the landscape, be it cattle, be it deer, elk, whatever. So to allow them unfettered growth is completely wrong, and the county should be involved in it and should comment on it, that they need to be controlled in a manner that is scientifically based, not fuzzy-hearted, cute little critters. They do damage to the resources, proven that. And I think from a county standpoint, we should make sure that we weigh in on this and say, hey, they don't need to raise the AML, keep it as it is, but remove the excess burrows for the rangeland health and based upon scientific evidence and go that way, because I know people like to see them and that's okay, but again, they have to be controlled. That should be what Mojave County advocates, is a control of these critters, just like they do on all other ungulates that are out there on the landscape.
Thank you. Commissioner Barlow?
Yeah, so I'm just curious how many burrows are actually out there, because I've been all over that strip. I was in the Parashant in February, and I have not met any person up there that has actually seen a burrow on the north side of the canyon. So I'm kind of curious, is there actually burrows up there, you know?
Commissioner Smith? No. Commissioner Diaz, did you have any remarks? Commissioner Diaz, you may be muted if you have remarks.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm good.
Okay. Director Holtry, to Commissioner Barlow's point, do we have any data suggesting how many burrows may be up in this area of concern?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Barlow, I'm not familiar with that information. We can try to do some research if you'd like to see. Apparently, from my understanding, if they're doing this environmental assessment, there must be some type of burrow issues in that area, and that's why they're looking to mitigate it. But I'm not familiar with the number, no.
Okay. But if you do reach out to the BLM and find that data, maybe you could send it on. I think the board would probably be interested in having that information as well. And to Commissioner Martin's point, I think the Public Lands Management Act actually prioritizes grazing and it's all a balancing act, right? So I think that absolutely we should prioritize protecting grazing. Grazing on federal lands is a huge industry. It has been in Mojave County since the time we were created, I believe. So
Fair.
there's not a lot of time to get anything to the board, though, to comment, Scott.
I did want to let you guys know, I reached out to Susan McAlpine, and she couldn't make it today, but she said she'd be happy to come speak with us about her experience with the burros and the horses too as well. So
Okay, thank you. Is the county not planning on submitting comment letter to this?
Mr. Chair, yeah, so I don't, if we did get anything, it wouldn't be coming through the board, it would be coming through just a division within Mojave County.
Yeah. I think it'd be a good idea if you could just to send information and maybe your department's comments or any other department's comments plus the commissioner's comments to each one of the district offices. So if any of the individual district offices, the county supervisors want to weigh in on this by the deadline, then they are able to do so. Any other comments? Hearing none, I will move on to item number 6. Discussion regarding Bureau of Land Management seeking input on proposed lease for Havasu Rivera Marina. Director Holtree.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you. I do have pulled up on the screen the location, I believe, that is being addressed here. It's this kind of wavy portion in section 26, the northeast corner of the northeast corner. So right here is what they're talking about. Really what it is they're looking to lease this this BLM land for the purpose of the marina to allow for gas stores that are in operation with the marina itself. Unfortunately, the comment period did end on September 3rd for any comments on this item. The other thing is that it's also located within the jurisdiction of Lake Havasu City. So it's if somebody were to comment on it, I think Mojave County does have the ability to do so because we're adjacent, we're in the vicinity. But it also, any requirements or regulations that would fall upon any development in this area would go towards the city of Lake Havasu and their building code, their zoning ordinance, whatever development standards that they would have. They have jurisdiction over that if BLM decides to go through the jurisdiction on their requirements.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions on this item?
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Commissioner Diaz, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so the big concern that we had here in Lake Havasu, as always has been with state trust land and BLM land, is that we have shoreline access, because that was one of Mr. McCulloch's platforms, that we wanted to maintain shoreline access for the residents. And we also, on this particular, I think it's 17 acres, Commissioner, Chairman Lingenfelter, and they wanted to make sure that that the opportunity to bid on these extra 17 acres was not just given to the people that are running the Riviera. And I think there was some questions to how the involvement of the Arizona State Parks got involved to try to maybe keep that from the public. So there's a few questions, and we had a meeting at the Aquatic Center, and they came and they answered some questions, but there's still a few questions about it, like how open they've been to having this land available for other people that might want to buy it, or is it just only to the people that run the Riviera? But the main thing was shoreline access needs to be maintained, and that's here at the city council and the mayor about a year ago, did a proclamation stating that was our ultimate goal. So just wanted to add that information.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. Any other comments from or questions from other commissioners? Director Holter, I think in the future, as this commission goes on, it would be beneficial to make sure that any of these opportunities for public comments on these public lands issues, that they're able to come to this commission in a time to allow them to give you comments, so that we have time to go to the board and approve anything before a public comment period expires. So, and maybe the board chooses not to provide comment letter on some things, but it's good to always have the option to do so. So that brings us to item number 7, commissioner comments and requests for agenda items for next meeting. I'll go through and one by one. If you have anything that you'd like to see in our next agenda or a future agenda, please let staff know. Commissioner Barlow.
I don't have any agendas, but I was going to let you guys know that the BLM director up there for the Arizona Strip asked me if I would put in my name for the advisory board for the new monument up there, which I have done, and if I could get a letter of recommendation from you specifically, it would be great. And then I just want to give a shout out to the firefighters, wildland firefighters up there. We've had a few fires on the North Strip, and in fact, they're out there right now. So just throw that out there.
Absolutely. Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Oh, yesterday I took a drive up to the Moss Mine, which is, I guess, filed for bankruptcy and is shutting down. And I want to know if there's something that this commission can do to figure out how they're going to mitigate that, because there's going to be a huge mess. They've made a monstrous scar on our landscape up there, and if there's anything we can do going forward, and also what effect that is going to have for Mojave County as far as financially. And
Is that mine located on federal lands, or is that private lands?
it was a patented mine back in the day, and then they applied for a permit from BLM when they reopened it, and it's BLM permitted. I believe it's all on either patented mining land and BLM federal land.
Okay. So, in accordance with the bylaws, if there's anything that we can put on the agenda on that item, that would be appropriate for the commission to send to the board as far as advisory comments. Commissioner Diaz?
Oh yeah, one thing, is it possible to get an update on the Grand Canyon uranium land grab that the Biden administration did, and where we're at on the legal process? Are we filing a lawsuit to try to get that reversed? Where he signed the he expanded the national park part of it, monument part of it. I'd like to see that, maybe an update on that, because a lot of people are still worried about that.
Commissioner Diaz, if I heard you correctly, you want an update on the lawsuit that the Arizona legislature filed and that the county of Mojave joined, the city of Colorado City and the city of Fredonia joined? Were you looking for a status of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin.
I have a comment. I don't know if it's appropriate here, but I attended the UES thing down here, MCC deal, about the expansion of their operation. And I did ask them a number of questions related to the operation out there, including what the ponds that they were doing, how would those affect any wildlife in the area out there. I did get a response from UES, and they said that their ponds that they're having out there meet guidelines. I also asked them about how the expansion would relate to ratepayers in Mojave County. Would it reduce our electric rates? They did answer that, and said that they would, by doing that expansion, it would keep them from having to buy electricity on the open market, which could result in lower costs to Mojave County citizens. I do know that several state, I think Mays is suing them, and that Center for Biological Diversity or somebody is also suing them over their plan out there. But like I said, I did go there, and I wanted to know what the expansion would do for Mojave County citizens and for our wildlife out there, because there is wildlife out there, and it appears that they've taken the appropriate steps to mitigate any problems for wildlife. But as far as the question about will it reduce the electric bill for Mojave County citizens, they were not able to answer that.
Thank you for those comments. I would like to request for the next meeting that staff put together an overview presentation on the Taylor Grazing Act and also the Public Lands Management Act. A lot of the things that this commission does pertains directly to those two pieces of federal legislation. So, any other comments before? Yes, Commissioner Barlow.
I forgot to mention it before, but I was talking to the BLM director up there and about the wind farm, and so far there hasn't been any movement. They have not been in contact with them up there recently. I am curious if they've been talking to the county at all.
They have not spoken to the District 1 office. I'm not sure if they've reached out to any of the other district offices or not. And I think the project, just so everybody that's watching, that you're referencing is the Hurricane, it's known as the Hurricane Wash Wind Project. Envisioned to have on over maybe up to 70,000 acres, and it's right outside of the Colorado City Centennial Park area, right next to their brand new national monument. So, I don't believe that they've reached out to anybody else as far as the district offices in the county. They haven't reached out to District 1. I had one conversation with them last year, but again, anybody that wants to stay updated on that project, make sure that you contact the Arizona Strip office of the BLM, ask to be included on their mailing list on that project, and they have to add you to that mailing list. And so you will get all of the updates on that project and any other project that is envisioned. If they've got an application, you'll be on that mailing list. Thank you for that. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned.